Every single week and every day in the Parliament can be quite different. In the Legislative Council, Tuesday is always the day for government business. Wednesday is a day for private members' business, so members who are not members of the government. And Thursday can be a mix of private members' business and government business. So today will be a little bit of government business and then private members' business for the rest of the afternoon. So normally for a sitting day, when I come in, I will check to see what the priorities of the day for the government are, and then check what our speaking intentions for the opposition, crossbench and government are. So normally in a morning, the government whip and myself will meet and we will compare notice papers. That's basically the running sheet for the Parliament for the day. So that will say what bills and what motions need to be covered, and also a list of who needs to speak to what and how far along it's going to be progressed. What that means is whether or not it will be taken to a vote or not, or maybe people might only be speaking to it. After we've had our meeting where we can have a look at the notice paper, I'll often come back to the office if I don't have other meetings, and I'll start to get things ready for the day. So that could mean I might have some speeches I need to write, I might have some research I need to do, and then from a whipping perspective, I might have some pair requests that need signing as well. So pair requests are for when members might be sick, so they're not going to be there for the day, and they're arranged between political parties. What the whips do each day is create a notice paper or a whips sheet, which is essentially like the running order of the day, and it will only have what is going to be dealt with in the Parliament and then note what needs to be adjourned off. This is what we will discuss of the morning of each sitting day to make sure that everybody is on the same page, all of the speaking intentions are listed, and everybody knows how far along things are going to be progressed for the day. Each day in preparation of sitting, we will always have a planning meeting. This is an opportunity for the opposition to come together and talk about what questions we might like to ask the government, and to be able to talk more broadly about what's happening for the day on the notice paper. In advance of question time, I'll always come up with questions that I might like to ask government ministers. In our place, we only have 2 ministers, so that means that typically the questions that I might be looking at are relating to portfolios that those ministers are responsible for. Parliament doesn't sit every single week, so we will have parliamentary sitting weeks where for the most part we focus on the running of Parliament. So members will be focused on what speeches they need to write for the week, their positions on what bills are coming to a vote, and making sure that business is in order for parliamentary sitting. In non-sitting weeks, we tend to focus on community work, but in the Legislative Council, we also have many parliamentary committees, which typically do sit on those non-sitting weeks. So being a sitting week this week, the majority of my time is focused on making sure that I'm ready for sitting, getting those speeches ready, getting that research done, so that when the bells ring, I'm ready to go. When we know that we need to go to the chamber, the bells will start ringing. There are 2 different sets of bells. There's one for the House of Assembly and there's one for the Legislative Council. The Legislative Council bells around the 2:15 sitting will ring later than the lower house bells. When they start ringing, we know that it's time to head down to the chamber, and that's when we have question time. If the bells are ringing during other parts of the sitting period, we know that it's because we're required for a vote. So as whip, it's my responsibility to make sure that all of our members who are not paired out are in the chamber in time for the vote. Being whip, I try and spend as much time as possible in the chamber. We have what's called a notice paper or a whipping sheet that will say when members are due to speak. So being whip, it's my role to make sure that opposition members are in the chamber when they're due to speak, and that members are in the chamber when a division's been called or a vote is happening. So during sitting weeks, I'll spend a lot of my time in the chamber, making sure that everyone's where they're meant to be and doing some work while I'm in the chamber as well. If I'm not in the chamber, it's normally because I have a meeting, or I might be quickly getting a speech ready, or I might be meeting with other members in preparation of something that's about to happen in the chamber. What's the process for members of Parliament when they're putting together their speeches or their contributions? I think everyone will have a very different process and a different system that they have. For me, I try and make sure I am as informed as I can be before I make a decision or a contribution. This right here is a folder for one of the bills that are currently on the notice paper. This one will be a conscience matter. So I've had the library do some research. They work very hard, and that enables me to be able to go and do some reading, do a bit of a deep dive into the topic so that I can formulate my position and be able to go and write my speech. So normally, if I've done some research, if there are things that stand out to me as I'm doing that research, I might jot them down and take some notes, and bit by bit I will piece together a speech to be able to display my views on why I'm voting the way that I am. Something that's really important about our Hansard is that it enables members of the community to be able to look at how their members are voting, to keep them accountable, but also to understand why they vote the way that they vote. Throughout a sitting day, no sitting day looks the same. So some weeks and some days there might be meetings where we need to discuss what our position might be on pieces of legislation. Some days I might have briefings on more information about legislation. Other days I might have meetings with members to talk about positions. That's in addition to my normal whips meetings that help to make sure that the notice paper or the whip sheet is ready to go for the day. When I'm not in meetings or I'm not in the chamber, I try and make sure that I'm preparing as much as I can be for either my speeches or research, developing policy myself that I might like to introduce to the Parliament, and also preparing for other parliamentary committees and responsibilities that I might have. But once the week's done, I'll make sure that I'm getting ready for the non-sitting week. So this might look like being out in the community, getting out to the regions to represent all South Australians, doing some parliamentary committee work, research, policy development. As you can see, we wear many hats and it can be quite busy. So making sure that I'm taking the time to make sure that I'm making the most of my time here in the Legislative Council.